Hey guys, this is Miss Holtz, and I'm just going to be telling you a little bit about how to use Tracker to analyze video data that you've taken. So once you've taken your videos of coffee filters falling, you'll want to open up Tracker, which you can get to from the Start menu at the bottom left of your screen. And if it's not listed on the list under the Start menu, you may have to search it. And it should look something like this. So you open Tracker. And then the first thing you want to do is open your video, import your video. So you'll go to Video at the top and hit Import. And then you want to find the file that you're using. So mine happens to be in here. And I'm going to do my 3 coffee filter video. I happen to label my videos how many coffee filters there were. Yours may be random letters and numbers, so you'll just have to figure out which one it is. So now that I have my video imported, I'm going to need to do a few things to calibrate the video so that it knows more information about distances and positions, things like that. So the first thing I want to do is click on this little blue stick with the 10 next to it, hit New, and then calibration stick. We're going to put in a calibration stick so that it knows lengths in this video. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here so I can see this better. And I'm going to move the stick to match the meter stick that I had in my video. So it knows that this is 1 meter long. Now right now it says it's 100 of something, which we could say it's 100 centimeters, but we want it to be in meters. So either in this box at the top or right in here, you can click and type the number 1 for 1 meter and hit enter, and that's what it'll read it as. Now the next thing I need to do is to determine what part of the video I want to take data over. Let's make this to fit. So I'm going to play my video. And it takes a little bit before I drop it, and then it hits the ground at the end. But I just care about the motion after I let go and before it hits the ground. So I'm going back to the beginning, and I'm going to play until I let go. And that's a little further than I wanted. So I can click on these buttons over here on the bottom right to go back and forward frame by frame. So I can get to the frame right after I let go. So right there it looks like I'm still holding on. So I'm going to take that to be my first, to the beginning of the video that I'm going to analyze. So I'm going to take this little triangle and slide it over to that position, that time marker. And that's where my video starts. Now I'm going to play it and see where I want it to end. So I'm going to back up a few frames until it's not on the ground anymore. So about right there. And I'll slide this little arrow to be the end of the portion of the video that I'm analyzing. And every time I press this rewind button over here, it's always going to go back to the first little black arrow that I put in there. Now what we need to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit because it's still pretty far away. And I'm going to make it an axis. And this is basically where my data is going to decide is 0, position 0. So I'm going to move it and make the very top of this filter's motion my 0 position point. Now you'll notice I'm putting it at the bottom of the coffee filter. That's where I'm going to mark the coffee filter and track it as it falls every time. So I'm using the bottom. You could use any part of the coffee filter you want as long as you're consistent and as long as your axis is in the same spot on the coffee filter. So I'm going to use the bottom. And I want to get rid of this axis because I don't want to see it anymore. It's just in my way. So I can click on this button again to get rid of it. So the button right here is what I used to make it appear, and I moved it. And then I clicked on that again to make it disappear, and it'll remember that position. Now to track the coffee filter as it falls, you want to hit Create at the top and choose Point Mass. And it'll come up with a graph on the right over here and a little box that says Track Control, and it has mass in it, mass A. So in order to click and add point masses to the screen, I need to hit the Shift key until my mouse looks like that little square. And once it looks like that, I can click and it'll automatically go to the next frame, and I can keep clicking on the same part of the coffee filter as it goes down. So let me finish doing this and I'll unpause in a second and come back and we'll talk about it. So I finished adding point masses as the coffee filters fell, but one thing I need is the position of the coffee filter over time. And what it graphed for me over here was the X position. So I'm going to go click on this X and change it to Y position because we care about its vertical motion. And once I do that, our graph looks nice and clean over here. And also our table shows time, the X position, and the Y position. But I really don't need the X position. If you want to get rid of that, you can click on Table and then uncheck the X box, and it'll just give you time and the Y position. So if you want to see your coffee filters as it falls, you can hit the rewind button, and you can watch it as it falls and look at where the red dot moves on the graph as it goes. So that's how you use Tracker to analyze your data. I hope that helps. Thanks.